So all of you can now look at the screen here, and actually today there are two slides. Yeah, there are two slides. The first one is about temperature and heat, and the second is about thermodynamics. So I will go with the first slide first. You can download the slides in the course LMS system. And if you have any question, just don't hesitate to uh, turn on the audio and ask me. Okay. So in daily life, you see that temperature plays and heat transfer also plays an important part of our daily activity, especially in transportation. For example, we use motorbike or car, which use the engine combustion system. What else in the kitchen? For example, when you try to cook some meals and something like that. Uh, it's all has significant application from the science of thermodynamics. Yeah, and as you can see here, thermodynamics is about heat and heat transformation. Yeah. Of the expansion like principle and heat transfer. And after the lecture, I hope that you can understand the concepts of the 4 points that is given in the slide here. So you expect to understand the concept of temperature first, heat expansion, phase transition, and also heat transfer. Yeah. So in daily life, you know, the temperature is a measure of how cold and how hot body is. Example, there is ice and also fire. The two popular example, ice is a low temperature and fire is high temperature. The problem now is to quantize, to quantitatively try to measure the correct scale of the heat and uh, hot and cold. Yeah, because sometimes if you put your hand in the cold water and then after that you change into the hot water, you feel that there is a difference than you if you put the hands on the hot water, yeah, and after that in the cold water. And also sometimes you just directly put your hands in the hot water. So there is difference in perception of our human sensing. Therefore, we need a more precise measurement device, which is called the thermometer. Yeah. So to describe temperature in an objective fashion, we need to use the instrument and scales. This, for example, popular example is the temperature using, for example, mercury. Yeah, this is analog temperature. And also you can use, for example, digital temperature. Yeah. Digital temperature, for example, you can use the infrared temperature, which is usually infrared temperature measure uh, temperature using this X-ray, this ray of infrared. Yeah. So using infrared, you can try to uh, measure the body more accurately. And this is also used in, for example, you want to go into places like malls and something like that. Yeah. Restaurants nowadays, because of the COVID situation, usually use this kind of infrared temperature measurement. Yeah. And there are also other systems such as, for example, this rapid test, yeah, where you just need to point from far distance or just put in the soil. You can measure the temperature of the soil used for agriculture and other devices. Yeah. So there are many ways to measure. Yeah. And honestly, I must say that the Alpha usually use scales in measuring temperatures here in Indonesia. For example, in Asia, we use Celsius. There's also Fahrenheit, Reaumur, and Kelvin. Yeah, the scientific agreement on the scale is the Kelvin scale. It has no negative scale because in the temperature is measured the kinetic energy of molecule. Or so be negative because it's the square of velocity, yeah, proportional to the square of velocity, and therefore the kinetic energy is always positive. Yeah. Kelvin scale is from lowest is 0 and highest is there is no boundary of the highest temperature. Yeah, because even though we know the very low scale of no motion at all, this is the 0 temperature from Kelvin. of the height knows because it's the temperature of we know that this must be either in the plasma situation, yeah. So there is like a solid, liquid, gas, and also plasma. Plasma is ionized gas like the star, but the electron already leave the protons, yeah. And this is the highest temperature in plasma. We don't know what is the limit of the highest temperature. So because of the four scales, you have to know how to convert between one scale into the other scale. For example, for the Celsius, we have this 0 for the water freezing point and 100 for the boiling point. So you can know that the scale is from 0 to 100, usually given sometimes larger than 100. But now for comparison, what's important for you to understand is for Fahrenheit, use the blood, the human blood, yeah. So 0 Celsius is equal to 32 Fahrenheit, 100 Celsius is equal to 212 Fahrenheit. And for Reaumur, 0 is equal to 0 Celsius, also 100 Celsius is to now 80 degrees. So you have in this case, yeah, in this case, you have this comparison, yeah, comparison. You have here 100, and you have here 180. We have here 80 here, and this is also 100. So in terms of ratio, in ratio, you have like 5 divided by 20, all you get this ratio. So 5945 is the change in ratio, meaning that when you go up like 1 degree Celsius is equal to 0.8 degree Reaumur, yeah, because it's 5 to 4. So 1 degree Celsius times 4 to 5, it gives you 0.8 Reaumur. Yeah? The increase in 1 degree Celsius. Also, the increase in 1 degree Celsius is equal to the increase of 9 to 5 degree Fahrenheit. This is the temperature difference. Yeah? To be careful, temperature and temperature difference. Because difference you only try to multiply using this ratio, yeah. But when you try to find the temperature, you have to also calculate and consider. You have to consider the difference in the degree here. Yeah. For example, here 10 degrees Celsius is equal to 9 to 5 times 10, which is 8 Fahrenheit. Yeah. But be careful because this is the difference. Yeah. Because if there is increase in 10 degrees Celsius is equal to 80 degrees Fahrenheit. But 10 degrees Celsius, not increase, but temperature, yeah, not the difference. When we talk about temperature, 10 degrees Celsius is not 80 Fahrenheit, but you have to add 32 first, yeah, because this is the conversion. So we have that here 40 degree Fahrenheit. No, we have 50 degree Fahrenheit. So if in Celsius the temperature scale is 10, in Fahrenheit the temperature scale is 50, because it starts with 32 here. Yeah. So be careful when try to convert. In Celsius and Reaumur there is no problem because they both start at 0, but Celsius minus 32. For example, another example, yeah. How much 180 degree Fahrenheit? First convert to Celsius. You know there's the 5 and 9, the ratio is 5 and 9. So you know the Celsius must be lower than this. Just multiply 5 to 9 times 180, you have 100 degree. And you have 100 degree. Yeah. Is this correct? This is correct if you talk about difference. But be careful, yeah. But be careful when we talk about the temperature. 100 degree Fahrenheit, you have to do this following first. You have to minus it first with 32. And after that, multiply by 5 divided by 9. So please study this, try to convert this. Yeah, you can use this formula below, or you can just use the logic of the ratio here, like I do. Yeah, if you don't know, just try to do the 212 must be 100 degree Celsius. Yeah, 212 Fahrenheit. How to get 100 degree Celsius from 212 Fahrenheit? Yeah. So you minus first with 32, which is 180, and after that you multiply with 5 times 9, yeah, which is 100. So in Fahrenheit to Celsius, minus first with 32, then multiply with ratio. Celsius to Fahrenheit, multiply with ratio first, and plus 32 at the end. Yeah, this is how we get it. Celsius to Kelvin is the same, just add with the constant 273. So 20 degree Celsius is equal to 20 times 273 Kelvin, which is 293 degree Kelvin here. Yeah. Yeah, this is the way you do the conversion. Please study this slide one more time with your own. Yeah. So the zero law of thermodynamics is the first law of thermodynamics actually, yeah, because the first law is found and the zero is found later. We put the zero law first, yeah. So the zero law first is that when you have two different systems in thermal equilibrium, in thermal contact, the system in the end at some time, after some time, will have the same temperature. As you know, when you put a hot coffee into the table and just left without drinking, and after some time, the temperature of the hot coffee will be the same as the room temperature. This is the zero law of thermodynamics. They will have equilibrium. So if you have two systems, say A and C in thermal equilibrium, and two other systems, say C and B, then they are all in thermal equilibrium. Yeah? For example, here, we can give a drawing. If A and C here are in thermal equilibrium or thermal contact, and C and B are in thermal equilibrium, then we have to do the measurement of thermal equilibrium. Yeah? Without between A and B, you are already sure that A and B have the same temperature after some time. Yeah, you don't need to put A and B into contact. Just put A and C contact, C and B contact. So it means if they are all in thermal equilibrium, automatically A and B are in thermal equilibrium. The measurement through temperature, for example, thermometer. The thermometer with mercury, you put it on your mouth, yeah, to measure your body temperature without the mercury being in contact with your mouth, yeah, because it's mercury is dangerous if you touch it with the skin, yeah. So mercury stays in the analog temperature, contact between your mouth and the needle, your mouth and the sensor in the temperature. The sensor is then in contact with the mercury, but you are not directly in contact with the mercury. So if all the three are in thermal equilibrium based on the zero law of thermodynamics, meaning that you have all the same temperature, and the temperature of the mercury scale is in the same temperature of your body. What is important here, why I have to state this, is that this is an empirical. You know, empirical is a law of nature. So this law of nature says that it is possible to measure a quantity called temperature. Without the zero law of thermodynamics, you cannot be sure of the quantity temperature to be objective. Yeah? Only because of the third law, you can measure temperature objectively without any bias because of this thermal equilibrium condition, yeah? Which is a natural law. Okay. So in day, if you have to consider, yeah, that if, for example, you put like metals, yeah, a metal at temperature, at certain temperature, at room temperature, and after some time the temperature increase. Yeah, because the temperature is a measure of kinetic energy. Yeah, this is important. The temperature is a measure of kinetic energy of the inner atoms. Yeah. When the temperature rises, the kinetic energy also rises. Because of the increase in the velocity of the atoms due to increase in the kinetic energy, the atom will pressure the boundary of the metals. Because of this pressure of the boundary, the metal will expand or experience elongation. Yeah, elongation is because of the push of the temperature. So it's the case in lower temperature. When you lower the temperature, the kinetic energy will decrease and the pressure will decrease too. And the atoms will then experience what we call the atoms will experience what's called the opposite of elongation, yeah, or contraction. Because of the pressure decrease due to the lower temperature. So therefore, when you make Rayleigh system, yeah, the Rayleigh system, if you notice, there are some like spacing between them to accommodate this elongation expansion because of the increase of the temperature. Otherwise, something like this will happen, which we don't want. We don't want the condition uh, the condition that the road, yeah, railroad will uh, not be straight anymore. Yeah? The railroad will not be straight anymore. So therefore, yeah, in this case, yeah, therefore uh, there is always some space between also within your window and the window frame, yeah, the glass and the window frame is always a little bit loose, yeah, not tight, because when the window glass expand, it must accommodate this kind of expansion. So we don't have only uh, linear expansion. We also have areal expansion. Yeah. So in this case, yeah, in this case, we also have simulation. It's based on what? Based on the principle of the longer the dimension, the longer the expansion. Yeah. So for example, if you have like wire or cable or stick, the dominant expansion is in one dimension. But if you have, for example, a two-dimensional system like ceramic or window, then the expansion is in two dimension because they have dimension like area. Yeah. So also you have circle like this, circular. The expansion will be like larger and lower the circle diameter. Cube or dimensional object, the expansion will be volumetric, volume expansion. So this is the logic. Yeah, you have linear expansion, area, and also volume expansion. Where you have the expansion coefficient. The expansion coefficient is given by alpha, beta, and gamma. Is based on the length, the initial area, and after some temperature difference, yeah, you will experience this kind of increase in length and area and volume. So because of this, also there usually a body, yeah, if you increase the temperature, it will expand and the volume will increase. So it's basically true that solids have lower volume than liquid. Yeah, this is why most solids are in when you put the solid in the water, usually they will go under the water. But there is some kind of hydrogen bonding in water, which cause the water anomaly. Because the water temperature fall from 4 to 0, logically the volume should decrease because it is contracting. Yeah? So temperature is decreasing. But in case we have an increase, yeah, we have an increase in temperature. And you know what is interesting in this temperature? What is interesting in increase in temperature is because, sorry, the volume increase. Yeah, the increase in volume due to the decrease in temperature is caused by the hydrogen bonding. Water has the hydrogen bonding, so when the temperature falls, this hydrogen bonding become more dominant than the other bond. It becomes atom out. Yeah, it pushes the atom out rather than scrambling in. So this hydrogen bonding is the cause of this anomaly. This hydrogen bonding is also present in HF, not only in water, which is H2O. So hydrogen substrates, yeah. So in this case, yeah, the volume and the density, because density is m per volume, mass per volume, increase the density. Yeah, you know, when the decrease in the density occur, then it will go upwards. Therefore, ice, when water become ice, the density because of the hydrogen bonding, the density of the water is lower than the density. Sorry, the density of the ice is lower than the density of the water. Yeah? The density of the ice is lower than the density of the water. In this case, uh, the ice will float above the water kill the fish and other fish and other animals, yeah, like amphibians. Because of this protection layer, the cold temperature will not directly go under the water, but will keep the water in a mild temperature, which can be very good for the fishes there, which they will still be able to live without being too cold. Yeah, this is because of the water. Also, heat. Yeah, there are three forms of how heat can transform. Yeah, it can move from one body to the other body, from one system to the other system. This kind of energy transfer can occur in three modes. We will learn this is conduction, convection, and radiation. Yeah. So, what happens, for example, if you add some heat into an object? Yeah, we go to the Planck law here. So the temperature will increase if you add heat to the object. Yeah. In the simple example, you just burn water. Yeah, using this kind of pan and put the fire below, the water will increase. You put some heat into the object. In many cases, this change is linear, yeah, in the amount of heat. So if, for example, you add heat like 2 times, the temperature changes also 2 times. So we define the heat capacity. Yeah. So based on the heat capacity, is the definition is the amount of calor or heat, yeah, divided by the mass and temperature. So the amount of calor per mass and temperature, this means one, yeah, if for example, yeah, 1 calorie. Yeah, 1 calorie, for example, is therefore the amount of heat need to increase the temperature of the system by 1 degree. Yeah. To increase the temperature of the system by 1 degree, you need definition of 1 calorie. Yeah. So if you have a high specific heat, a high C value, means you need more energy. Yeah. You need more energy to produce 1 calorie, means you need more energy more energy 1 degree Celsius. Yeah. So the lower the heat capacity, the energy required to increase is lower. Yeah. So this is heat. So heat, what is heat? Actually, heat is not a substance. Yeah. It is like heat is something like an energy transfer, which body. So transfer of kinetic energy in this sense. Yeah. In this sense, it can be transfer of molecule, transfer of kinetic energy is a transfer of something via conduction, convection, or radiation, transfer of energy from the hot to the cold system. So it is what happens when you have increase, for example, you put some heat into a system that undergo phase transition, for example, from ice to liquid. Yeah. Or in this case, you have to calculate the latent heat. The latent heat is considered as the heat to 1 gram phase, which is much larger than the specific heat for increasing at no phase change. So when phase change is involved, usually the energy can be 100 times, 80 times, 500 times higher. Then when you just increase the same consumptive, then just increase the temperature of no phase transition. Yeah. So for phase transition, you need more energy. Yeah. Solid to liquid, we call this for melting. Yeah. Please study this slide more carefully. As well with the of energy, you put the same amount of calor that is heat that is absorbed must be the same as the same amount of heat that is released. Yeah. So when you example put 100 calorie in the system, then the other system will also release the same amount. Yeah. Example, you put cold, you put some hot water into cold water. So the hot water will release heat. The cold water will absorb the same amount of heat. So in this case, yeah, you can measure the final temperature using this principle. Yeah. This is given by MC delta T. Yeah. So in this case, yeah, you have to consider Absorb is therefore MC. Absorb means from the high temperature to a final temperature that we don't know. We usually know the higher transfer. This we know. This we don't know. Must be equal, yeah, to M2 C2, and now this is from the cold temperature. Yeah, this is the temperature that we don't know minus the cold temperature. Okay. So this must be equal because of the absorb is equal to the release. This one absorbs, this one release. And with this you should be able, for example, you have like 100 grams hot water, C of water, yeah, per Kelvin or Celsius. At 90 degree, put 90 degree of hot water, it will reach the final temperature due to equilibrium. Put into a cold system of 50 gram, for example, you put 50 gram is the second mass, which is the same phase is water, same for water. C for ice is different, yeah, C for ice 0.5. So because there is no ice involved, just the hot and cold water, you have now the temperature that you want to find minus, for example, the water was initially only 10 degrees, so put 10 degrees here. And using this equation, you can find the T just using some algebra, yeah, simple algebra. It's not so different, not so difficult. Yeah, so this is the way we can determine using Planck. Well, I think you already studied this in high school. Yeah. Okay, so the latent heat, yeah, to change liquid into gas does not only occur at the vapor point, but also at the room temperature, which means the transformation is not only occurring at 100 degrees Celsius, but also below that is already occurring. We call this evaporation, for example. This can occur because we heat like water or something, yeah. The molecule at the surface can be released into the air and produce vapor not only at 100 degrees, but also at lower temperature, because there is constant exchange of energy between the surface and the environment. Yeah. Don't. Let him drink. Look. We call this the evaporation. There are 3 types of heat transfer. Yeah. This evaporation, you can see, is the cycle of our rain. Yeah. And how, for example, the groundwater is filled, the groundwater, and so on. This is important cycle of. So there are three types of heat transfer. First is conduction. Second is convection, and 3 is radiation. Yeah. So heat transfer can occur via conduction, convection, and radiation. Via conduction, it is given by this law. Yeah, which is the rate of heat per time. This is the temperature difference. This is the conductivity constant. For example, iron, they have high conductivity constant. Yeah. For example, you when you try to hold onto the metals, you usually have high thermal conductivity, so the heat flows very fast. Iron chair, so the iron chair usually feel cold. You feel cold when you touch the iron or aluminium of your chair. The difference is you try to put your hand on the wood, which is not directly changing temperature because wood has very low thermal conductivity. This is related to the electronic configuration in the materials. So this is intrinsic value, this thermal conductivity, yeah, and also depends on the area and also to the length or thickness of the body. For example, a house with a thicker material has higher has lower heat transfer. So what is interesting is, you know, the Eskimo in Russia. The Eskimo, they build their house from the igloo, from the ice. You know, the ice actually has the conductivity, thermal conductivity, which is almost the same as the conductivity of the bricks used to build our houses. So the ice can be a good material to your house from the outside world, because the temperature in North Pole, meaning the ice will not melt very soon. And so you can pass from the igloo and show it in, I don't know where, in Finland or Norway or Iceland. I think in Iceland there is a hotel made from ice. Yeah, and this is standing until now. So this is really interesting. You can make a house from ice and you feel warm as if you are just in normal house, because the thermal conductivity of the ice is the same as the brick. Yeah, the thickness is also large. So for thick material, yeah, low thermal conductivity. So the heat does not flow easily out. Yeah? So you can put a fire inside the igloo and the heat doesn't go out very fast. Yeah, it will go out slowly, very slowly. Yeah. This is the benefit of why do they make it of ice? Because ice is everywhere in the place. Yeah. So it depends on the situation. So igloo is very reasonable from people of physics here. Can make a nice. Okay. And convection, yeah. So what is the difference between conduction and convection? In conduction, atoms or the molecules, they don't move. They don't, they don't transfer, they don't mobilize, only the kinetic energy. So it doesn't involve the transfer of atoms. Yeah. For example, you hold like a metal here in the fire, doesn't mean that the atoms in your hand move to the fire, just transfer kinetic energy. So without any transfer of atoms. In the opposite, yeah, the convection is involved the transition of the atoms, yeah, the transition of the atoms. So the atoms will also meaning the atoms will also mobilize. So the hot water, actually the water molecule also transported into the from the lower to the higher place, yeah. So in this case, this is like a cycle, yeah. So the water also flows. This is a this is convection as opposite to conduction. Yeah. For example, you can see here when you boil water, you bake some cakes, yeah, in the baker, and also in the fan. Yeah, in the fan you see that's not only conduction but also convection, curing together. And the last one is radiation. Yeah. So in radiation, that's important here that transfer of energy can also occur from electromagnetic wave. Yeah. In this case, fire and also the energy from the sun can be transported to the earth without any medium, because it's electromagnetic radiation. And electromagnetic radiation can be measured from like infrared camera. Yeah. So infrared camera also can use to measure temperature in COVID situation. Yeah. And you see that the amount of radiation is equal to the power of 4 of the temperature. So if you increase if the temperature increase twofold, 2 times, yeah, from 100 to 200, radiation rate, the transfer of the heat, yeah, is 2 times the power of 4 is 16 times. Yeah, this is very good because then you can make a very sensitive device to measure the radiation heat transfer. Yeah. Okay, this is the summary for the first slide. I give you like 2 or 5 any question. If you have any question, please turn on the microphone and now you can ask me. Yeah. Yeah. So the summary of this lecture, first lecture, is 3 types of heat transfer: conduction, convection, radiation. And what is the thermal equilibrium, Black's law, and also phase transition. Phase transition, you can measure using the laws of heat transfer. Heat is equal to. Okay, if there is no more question, I will move to the second slide. Yeah. So today we have 2 slides. Oh, no, this is the second step of thermodynamics. This is still the same. Yeah, we still discuss the heat But now we discuss more the relation between system and environment. So in this case, let me just turn on the full screen here. Good. So the outline of this lecture is, the concept of system environment, thermodynamic process, first law and second law of thermodynamics. Let's go with the slides. Yeah. So this you can read yourself. Yeah. So what is system? What is environment? Yeah. System is something that we study, focus on our system. Yeah. So we study closely. We know the boundary. For example, we study a body let's say some like refrigerator. Yeah. So the entire refrigerator can be a system. The entire car engine can be a system. The environment is some outer influence to the system. Yeah. So between environment and system, there is always a boundary. Boundary is the place where there is an exchange of energy. So there are three types of system. You can see first one is the open one. For example, just like we are now in the house, there is an open system because it's oxygen, yeah, and also excess of heat that's coming out from the windows, yeah. So our house is an open system. The closed system is it allows for transfer of energy but no transfer of mass. For example, you can see a greenhouse or a house made from the glass. Yeah, we can find this in the plantation, modern plantation. Yeah, so it's always closed system with air conditioner. Yeah, so there is no possibility that there is any mass coming out. So this is closed system. Still, through the window, you can interchange heat or energy. So this is example of closed system. Really, isolated system is really not allowing any energy and mass to flow from the system environment. For example, yeah, water or thermos. Yeah, for example, you go to school, usually you bring this kind of place where you can drink your tea, and after some time it will cool down. But actually, because it's not ideal isolated system, but this is some kind of isolated system. Yeah. So this is the three types of systems. Yeah, you can see here the example. Yeah, actually the whole universe, yeah, can be seen as isolated system. Yeah, because of the Big Bang initially, there is all enclosed in its space time. Yeah. So, but in the small scale, of course, yes, easy to imagine isolated system as just simple system. The water stay hot and something like that. So if you put, of course, you put it in and like the metal in or out. This is called. There are two types of boundary discussed here. First one is the adiabatic boundary, which allow no transfer of heat. Yeah, but adiabatic boundary sometimes can change in volume. Yeah, and this is, for example, you can see here two situations where this is also rigid boundary. Yeah, here for the gas tank tube, with the gas tube is a rigid boundary. It can experience flow. Yeah, flow of there is no flow actually. Sorry, there is no flow of temperature, no flow of energy because there is no heat coming out. Of course, if you open the gas from here, you put on a pipe or something like that. This occurring. There is change in the mass, but for this case out isolation in the isolation, this is a type of adiabatic rigid boundary. And so there are two types of boundary, yeah, adiabatic and rigid boundary. Non-adiabatic boundaries, yeah, heat can be transferred. The law of thermodynamics is a statement of energy. Law of thermodynamics tells you that if you to put some heat into a system, the heat will be added in two ways. Yeah, it will increase also the internal energy. The internal energy is related to kinetic energy. So you have some gas, you put some heat, the gas will increase, yeah, what and closing out, yeah, you close the pan, you increase the heat using like gas, yeah, fire from below, and you can see that the topple of the closing, the seal, yeah, the seal of the pan sometimes move because the increase of the internal energy, increase of the kinetic energy, yeah, besides the increase of the temperature. So this law says that the change in internal energy is equal to the heat added into the system minus the work done by the system. Yeah, this minus sign is important because W here is work done by. So the system does some work. When the system does some work, for example, V2 minus V1, yeah, the definition of work for example, constant temperature, constant pressure is work is equal to P times V2 means V1. V2 is the second volume. First, the initial volume is V1. Yeah. Now this is for expansion. Expansion means that the volume V2 is larger than volume V1, right? This is expansion. In this case, the work is positive. Yeah. The work is positive, yeah, positive. Because of the law, yeah, minus here, yeah. Why is given minus? Because positive work will decrease the internal energy. When you have, for example, piston and the piston push the volume, what happens to the kinetic energy of the gas? It will decrease because the energy is transferred to moving the piston. Yeah. So when a system done some work, meaning the system has positive work, the kinetic energy will decrease. Therefore, this is the reason why we use the minus sign. In contrary, if the volume decrease, so work is done on the system, not by the system. Work is done on the system, so the system will lose the volume. The volume will contract. In this case, the internal energy will increase. Yeah. So this convention, please note carefully. Oh, it's raining now. It's very Bogor-like. It's raining. So there are 4 types of processes. Yeah? 4 types of processes. The first process is isobaric. Isobaric process means like a process where it's undergo from one point to the other point without any change in the pressure. So in the PV, pressure volume diagram, you can see that this is flat. Yeah. And this is the amount of work. The amount of work done by the system, W, is the area below. Yeah. So in isobaric, you see, the pressure doesn't change. If the pressure doesn't change, the first law becomes this. Now W is changed by this formula. This pressure is constant. Okay. We call this isobar. Bar is pressure, yeah. Iso is the same. In Japanese, it's different, yeah. So, yeah. You are Malay people. In Japanese, for example, iso means you can do it, yeah. Iso ora, yeah. Iso. This is not the meaning of iso, yeah. Iso here means the same, equal. So equal pressure. Yeah. Okay. So isochoric. Isochoric or isovolumetric is a reaction, thermodynamic reaction, but with constant volume. If the volume is constant, what is the work done? Is 0, yeah? Because work is P delta or difference in volume. If the difference in volume or delta V is equal to 0, then automatically the work is 0 and the first law now becomes more simple. You put some heat into a isovolume or isochoric process, automatically the heat will transform internal energy directly. Yeah, internal energy is N or delta T. So when the internal energy increase means the temperature increase. Yeah, T2 minus T1 is positive. T2 minus T1 is positive. So when you put heat into the system, like boiling water, you put some heat, yeah, cooking the water, the temperature of the water will rise. There is no work done. For example, you close the pan with the seal, yeah. Oh, in this case, all of the increase in calor is given heat, yeah, increase in heat is given by the increase, will cause increase in internal energy without any work. Yeah. So there is no area here, yeah, to be raster. Yeah. There is no work done in this process. So if, for example, the process is done at constant temperature, then we call this isothermal. Yeah. In isothermal process, the PV diagram is here like this. There is a decrease in 1 per T. Yeah, see, this decrease is equal to 1 per T. This is still not so steep. Yeah, is compared to the adiabatic process. We will see later. Yeah. In this case, the amount of work is equal to nRT ln V final and initial. Yeah. The first law of thermodynamics is still the same. The initial law, yeah. So, but now you see there is the difference is the internal energy is 0 because internal energy, as I say, is nR delta T. There is no delta T here, so it's 0, yeah, because there is no change in temperature. So the first law now becomes physical, meaning when you put some heat into a system and the temperature doesn't change, then because of the conservation of energy, you put some heat into the system, will cause the system to expand. This heat will be transformed into expanding. Now you can ask me, is it possible that thermodynamic process occur more than one process at a time? And the answer is yes. Yeah. So it doesn't need to be isothermal. It can be also random. Yeah. Yeah. But now for clarity, we usually only categorize into the 4 main process. Yeah. But it is possible also that it's not fully isothermal. Yeah. There is also isobaric and something. This is okay. More than one process at a time. Yeah. But usually we focus on one process. Okay. This is also ideal. Yeah. In reality, of course, when you put some heat, the temperature will rise a little bit. Yeah. Even in fully isothermal. So, but this is ideal. Ideal isothermal means that no change in temperature. Adiabatic is the same, but now it's more steeper than isothermal. See, this is the diagram of the temperature during the blue line. The temperature is the same. Yeah. For example, 500 Kelvin, and below is 300 Kelvin. In adiabatic process, the temperature will change, but the change in calor is 0. The change in heat is 0, but the temperature will change. So the first law now becomes delta U is equal to minus W, because now here the delta Q is equal to 0. This is called adiabatic process, is more steeper than isothermal process. So you already know 4 types of thermodynamic process. Yeah. Isobaric, isochoric, isothermal, and adiabatic. Please study them carefully. Yeah. So the ideal gas law is given by PV is equal to on RT. On is the amount of moles. Yeah. Ideal gas, for example, noble gases or gases at low pressure, like room temperature gases, can be approximated by ideal gas. Yeah. What is ideal gas? Ideal gas means that we have no interaction between the molecules. So the molecules, yeah, in ideal gas, the molecules in ideal gas, they don't interact with each other, only through collision. Yeah. This is known as the assumption of ideal gas. So you already know this from high school. Yeah. The mole is equal to n divided by the Avogadro number. Avogadro number is 6.02 times 10 to the power of 23, I think. It's Avogadro number. Okay. So you can imagine water molecule 18 gram, yeah. 18 gram of water molecule contains 1 mole, 6 to the power of 1023. So in a little, when you drink water, just one drink, like one glug, yeah. In one glug of water, the amount of water, the molecules of water that you intake into your body is very massive. Even 1 mole is 6 to the power of 1023, meaning that you have in this case you have like 10 million times 100,000, which is a massive amount of molecules. Yeah. So be grateful when you drink water. One glug of water is a large quantity of molecules you put into the body. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So this is internal energy is equal to 3 per 2 and RT. R is the gas constant. Yeah. 8.3 times 1 joule. Yeah. So there are two representations in terms of microscopic and macroscopic. Microscopic is the N is the amount of molecule. So the big N is the amount of molecule. You multiply with the gas constant K will give you equal to R. Yeah. So R is N times K. Okay. R is N times K, as you can see. Okay. So one of your duty is to understand how to read the PV diagram. For example, you can see this is isothermic. It looks like isothermic, meaning the process from P1 per 2, it lowers the pressure, increase the volume, so positive work is done here. Yeah. But you know, the temperature stay the same, so it's an isothermal process. The amount of work from, say, process 1 to process 2 is then this. So this is the amount of work which is done by the system. Yeah. Which is from left to right, because V2 minus V1 is positive. But be careful if the process is from right to left. Then we have V2 minus V1 is negative, and the work is the same, but it's negative work. Because negative work, yeah, implies that there is contraction. So in this case, you can calculate the work is equal to the area. Calculate the work of an ideal gas during the process of temperature. Just the work is, in this case, is equal to P delta V delta, right? This is the work, yeah. Pressure delta. Pressure is Newton per meter square. Delta V is meter. So we have Newton meter, yeah. Newton meter is the dimension of Fs is work, yeah. So the dimension is joule. P delta V in this case, if the process from left to right is 5 minus 1 times the, yeah, just calculate the area here using the trapezium rule. You don't have to make, remember this is in 10 to the power of 5, so it's like atmospheric pressure, yeah. If this is positive work, and the opposite is negative work. Second law of thermodynamics tells you about the direction of spontaneous heat flow. Yeah. You see, heat always flows spontaneously from pole to pole, not otherwise. We can of course, yeah, produce from low temperature heat flowing to the high temperature, but with the cost of doing some work. Yeah, this is actually the principle of air conditioner. So to produce a cold temperature, yeah, you have to you have to you have to use some work from the electricity to pump the temperature out to the radiator. So the temperature in the room is cool, but you see outside the temperature is the hot energy, yeah, the calor, the heat, yeah, is transferred to the environment. So in air conditioner, actually, you produce more heat to the environment. So actually, the more people use air conditioner, ironically, it will increase the temperature for Earth. Yeah. So the hotter the temperature of the Earth, because it's, you see, air conditioner is just you dispose the heat from your room to the environment. Yeah. This is not spontaneously, but require you to put some energy. Yeah. So we say that this is a cooling engine. So air conditioner is a cooling engine. It's a refrigerator. It's the same as the refrigerator actually. In the refrigerator, you try to throw some heat out from the inside of the refrigerator. Therefore, when you touch the back of the refrigerator, yeah, be careful, not the electricity, yeah, but just the what we call reservoir, the hot reservoir. You feel it's hot, yeah. So there is always you always have to throw some hot heat out. Therefore, when you have refrigeration, you say when you go home from school, you have wet or cold, you feel cold shoes, yeah. You put the shoes behind the refrigerator. Yeah. Of course, don't put your shoes inside the refrigerator, yeah. Nobody wants to eat your shoes. So this case is we call this case cold engine, yeah, cold engine, cooling engine. So this is the statement of second law of thermodynamics. Yeah. Heat always flow naturally from hot to cold body. Yeah. So during a cyclic process, yeah, therefore the statement is, yeah. We can also state the second law of thermodynamics, yeah. There are always some heat release. Yeah, meaning like yeah, it is. Yeah, you have hot temperature, you have cold temperature. Yeah, you put some energy from hot to cold, you produce some work. This is a heat engine. Yeah, hot engine or heat engine. Yeah, and yeah, when all of the heat is transferred into work, which is not possible because there is always friction and always dissipative force, you can do from the low or go back to the high temperature without any loss of energy. And this kind of circle is called reversible, meaning it will never end. This is only true for ideal condition, which is never achieved. Even the efficiency of your car is only 20%. So the energy from the gasoline, yeah, into the engine is only 20%, and 80% is lost into the environment. So it is not possible to transfer a heat. This is the second law of thermodynamics in terms of engine statement. Yeah. So yeah, it is not possible energy flow from the cold to hot without any influence from the work outside. Yeah, you cannot produce refrigeration to work, air conditioner to work if you don't have electricity because of the second law of thermodynamics. But you can produce a hot coffee into cold coffee just by putting it into the environment. Because of the second law of thermodynamics doesn't restrict you from cold because it will spontaneously go from hot. Yeah. So the natural process tends always to increase. So increasing entropy means less disorder, higher disorder. Entropy is the amount of disorder. So in nature, it will always increase in this order. Yeah. You go to sleep, and after you wake up, you see that your hair is a mess. Yeah. You have to comb your hair again. Yeah. So that it will be good again. After that, you sleep again, your hair is a mess again because it's entropy. It will always increase towards maximum. Yeah. Also, when you, for example, rip a piece of paper into pieces, yeah, this piece of paper you throw on the room, and it will stay like that. It will not become a paper again. You put water and sugar inside, make a coffee or tea. You you mix the drinks. Yeah. You mix the drink. What will happen? It will become increase in entropy because you cannot separate them again. Yeah, you can mix, but you cannot separate. Yes, this is the law of entropy. This is why you always need to retain your fuel. Because of what? Because of the law of thermodynamics. And this is predicting that at some point our universe will cool down, our sun will die out, and everything will be left out unless what is left is only black hole. Yeah. And even then they will evaporate energy, and after that there will be nothing, just darkness. Yeah. So second law of thermodynamics points out that after trillions of years, yeah, billions of years, our sun is only like 5 billion years old. It is has still time 5 billion. We are so in the middle of the cycle of the sun now. Our sun is in the middle of its age. Yeah. So be comparing the ratio of helium hydrogen, you know, that it is so approximately in the middle of the lifetime of the sun now. 5 billion years, we still have 5 billion years. But don't worry, we only live perhaps 100 years if we are lucky. So we don't have to worry that the sun will burn out, you know, extinguish. No, but it will die sometimes because of the law of thermodynamics. It will die sometimes. Yeah, all all that exists will die out. There is nothing. There is nothing that will be left. There will be no motion, no heat. It's a massive death, not only to humans, but all living creatures. There will be no possible way to survive. So yes, this is a bad news for our civilization. At some points, we will run out of galaxies, run out of stars. There will be no possibility to find some heat. Even nuclear reaction will be left out. Nuclear reaction will fade out because there is not enough fusion energy anymore. And we are left with the fate of extinction. So what will happen? Yeah, just pray that there will be afterlife, right? So afterlife is the way out from the doomed fate of humanity and all living things. Yeah. And this you can see also in scientific papers and also in even in YouTube. Yeah, that our universe will at some point die out to become black holes, and you know the center of our Milky Way is a black hole, and this black hole will sometimes also evaporate out because of this called the Hawking radiation. Yeah. So what is left is nothingness, just empty space without any molecules, because the molecules itself, yeah, will disintegrate. Yeah. So all the heavy atoms will disintegrate, and there will be a time there is nothing left. Even it will become back. We will come back to the black, to the Big Bang again, but there is nothingness. Yeah. Wow. So heat engine. What is heat engine? We know the heat engine is engine that produce work. Yeah. It's engine that produce work from the transfer of heat from hot to the cold reservoir. Yeah. And the engine in the car engine or motorbike engine, this is the place where the gasoline, yeah, is injected into the sparking system. So it will produce some sparking, and it produce some heat, and this heat will move the engine, doing some work, pushing the cylinders up and down, and the cylinders up and down will in turn rotate the wheel. So your car is a heat engine. Will produce some horsepower. The work can be measured in horsepower, but in the scientific physics usually use joule as the standard measure of the heat of the work. Sometimes also calorie. So the efficiency is the amount of work the absorbed heat. And for the ideal system, you see that the work is equal to the change of the hot to the. Actually, this is ideal condition. This is ideal condition. Okay, why ideal condition? Because in reality, there is also some here to the dissipative system like friction, dissipative friction, also leakage to the environment. In car engine, this is really big. This leaking. Not all the energy can be. So therefore, there is a great possibility that we will move from gasoline into electric vehicle. So as Tesla electric vehicle higher. Okay. So I will speed up. And you can see here how to calculate the efficiency. Please study them carefully. And also the Carnot engine is a fourth process system where heat in is equal to heat out. There is consists of iso2 exothermal process and 2 adiabatic process. Carnot engine is the ideal engine, meaning that the ideal engine. What is ideal engine? Ideal engine is not 100% efficiency. Ideal engine is the amount of work is equal to QH minus QL. This is ideal engine. So there is no dissipation, and the most ideal process is called the Carnot cycle. Carnot efficiency can be calculated using this law. Why do we need the Carnot engine? Because we need to compare our engine with the ideal engine. So the opposite of heat engine is cooling engine. You do, in this case, the work is used to pump the heat from the cold to the hot. And we know the coefficient of performance is equal to the heat in the low temp reservoir divided by the W. So for high coefficient of performance means with just low energy, low electricity can produce a high effect. Refrigerator, they have coefficient of performance measure. Higher the better. So don't equal like the efficiency. Efficiency is for heat engine, even work divided by QH. But for the cooling engine, we use coefficient of performance. Okay, we will finish. So entropy, here say, is the amount of disorder. Higher the disorder, higher the entropy. System 1 has lowest entropy because compared to the other system, it can only move in the limited size. Here we have larger. So volume increase, expansion of universe, expansion, increase in entropy. Natural process tends to increase entropy. This is the conclusion. So there are 4 main thermodynamic process: isobaric, isothermic, adiabatic, isochoric. And we know the heat transfer. There is a heat engine and cooling engine. Okay. So is there any question? Thank you for your attention. Okay. I think you all are waiting for the big moment, fasting, or some of you are just enjoy to spend some free time at home. So I wish you a happy fasting for those who fast, and for those who don't, I wish you also a happy time to enjoy. Okay. If there is no question, see you on Friday. Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. And I will upload this into your WhatsApp. This link. Thank you. Have a nice time. Bye-bye.
Waalaikumsalam. Thank you, sir. Good afternoon.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah,
Assalamualaikum.
welcome.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Bye.